Hey there, it's in reverse. Today we are doing something unusual, showcasing one individual mod, but not any mod. It's the auto-terrafirmacraft mod. If there is something this mod is renowned for, is its brutal realism. Surviving here isn't so different from surviving in real life, with the exception of imminent death and taxes, which is a plus. Throughout the video, I won't show the recipes or methods of everything, but having the just enough item mod should be enough for you to discover all of those by yourself. The showcase won't be an in-depth review, but should give you a wider view of what the mod is about, and how to survive and even thrive playing it. I did not want the showcase to be 5 hours long, filled with irrelevant information or things you already know about the mod. I wanted to showcase my own experiment with the mod, an experiment that lasted nearly a year now. Let's check it out. Right after you spawn, the first thing you'll want to do is gather rocks, twigs and sticks. Rocks are everywhere, just right click them, same with twigs. As for sticks, you will need to do it the vanilla way, which is mining leaves. Sticks and rocks will allow you to start napping, a process done by right clicking rocks in your hotbar, upon which the napping interface will open. Here you will need to chip away squares until you get the tool heads you need. All shapes can be discovered through the just enough item mod. The complete tools can then be crafted regularly on your crafting grids. Now you get to cut down logs, mine loom more efficiently, and even create a javelin, your first weapon. This will come in handy as you hunt for food. You remember how I said we can chop logs now? Well, here where those logs can be cached in. With a fire starter, 3 sticks, and a log, you can create a fire pit. The fire pit will be your source of warmth and nutrition too. All the cattle and poultry you've hunted are bound to rot unless you cook it and consume it as quickly as possible. You could also create torches by flaming sticks. The fire pit can be enhanced to cook better, either by creating a pot or wrought iron grill. Both of these we will learn in upcoming chapters of the video. The basis of metal casting is clay. Luckily for us, it is pretty easy to obtain. Just keep digging around the land, you'll commonly find veins of loam clay blocks. Mine them and you get yourself some clay. Once you have 4 clays or more, you can start napping, like we did in the beginning, only this time it's more like pottery. Alright, here we want to nap a vessel, a jug, and an ingot mold. The jug is a bit irrelevant to casting metals, but will come in handy later. Dig a block, place the unfired pottery by pressing V, and cover it up with straws and logs. That's right there is the pit kilns, an advanced method of cooking, and can take up to 8 real-life minutes to finish cooking. Once our pottery has solidified, it's now ready for proper use. The first thing you'll want to do to get advanced metals is to start scavenging for native minerals, things like native copper, native gold, and native silver, etc. Next up, you will want to fill up the vessel with some of these native ores, and cover up to cook for another 8 minutes. Here you will need to be quick, act slow, and the content of the vessel will be solidified. So try and quickly pour the content of the vessel into the ingot mold. Again, quickly extract the metal from the mold or you will have to fire it once more. The ingots are necessary for anvil work, but if you want to get straight to business and craft tools, you can nab the mold of the tool's head. Following the melting and extraction of the metal, you can simply craft it into a weapon or a tool based on your napping. Things could be done a lot more efficiently now, and you can create lumbers by mixing logs and the metal saw in the crafting grid. Following that, you will attain your very first crafting table. To start here, you will once more want to gather rocks. This time you will grind them with a hammer to produce flux, an essential component of working metals in TFC. After that, you will place a raw rock, right click it with a hammer, and although it may not seem like it, that's right there is your very first anvil. The mechanics of the anvil are pretty complex, so I've moved the rest to the advanced mechanics section. You could skip ahead if you'd like, I'll have the timestamps to help you out. Enough scavenging in the wild now, let's get you to build your very first house. 2 essential blocks are to be crafted, the wattles and the dope. The ingredients for those you should have in store by now. The process is sophisticated and also fun. You place the wattle, enforce it with dope, and preferably color it and decorate it with dyes and sticks. With the saw you casted earlier, you could craft lumbers, which can be used to make doors and also stairs for further decoration. For extra comfort, you could kill a bear, obtain its hide, lay some straws, and strap the hide on top of it. That should create a bed. A momentary one, at least. And there you go, a beautiful shelter from the cold and a nice place to call home. In TerraFirmacraft, your inventory can affect your movement. If you are carrying, say, an inventory full of anvils, you won't move an inch. The mod still lacks some accuracy for other items like logs and metallic objects, but I guess it's better not to take it so far as to make the game unbearable. Literally. Here, things work differently than vanilla. Water, just like in real life, is vital for living, so try to satisfy your thirst as much as possible, either manually or through a jug, which we already created. As for nutrition, you get bars for grains, fruits, vegetables, protein, and dairy. You'd be just fine eating protein alone, but for maximum vitality, diversifying your diet can be valuable. One thing to note about the wall generation in TerraFirmacraft, apart from obviously being realistic, is the vastness of the land. Continents here stretch thousands of blocks apart and are geographically accurate to Earth. When exploring the world of TerraFirmacraft, many small details can be spotted. So many, in fact, I can't list them in one video. Few of which will suffice, most prominent being the decomposed branches and leaves on the ground. In combination with the rocks, twigs, and wild plants found here, the woods feel ever more detailed than before. Weather effects enlivens the air, while bubble particles hint at the direction of the river. Flying over the green fields, entities become almost invisible from the quantity of the foliage. This, of course, is a biome-based feature, and other biomes can have little to no foliage at all. Final thing about the TFC Geology is the underground surface. Opposite to vanilla, there is no one biome for all ores kind of thing. Each area here can host specific types of minerals and ores, based on the formation of rock and on events that can happen over the course of millions of years. The world of TerraFirmacraft is well documented. I'm currently living 1010 years ago, chilling on a Saturday morning and feeling a bit cold as it is early spring. The comment I made about feeling cold isn't a joke. The environment gets cooler and hotter based on the season and based on the region too. Certain plants won't even grow on a cold winter, for instance, and some events can only take place during the summer. Here, I am about to list almost all of the animals within the TerraFirmacraft mod, along with their behaviors and regions of origin too. Notice how I said almost. After having finished the recording, I was surprised to learn that more animals exist, but weren't mentioned on the wiki page, which is my main source of information, so forgive my lack of precision there. First group of animals we will review are predators, those you will need to know about the most, for obvious reasons. Big cats included the cougar, a carnivorous animal that lives on the mountains and thrives on cold to moderately warm biomes. Panthers are animals of the same kind, and one thing to note about these cats, they sleep a lot, but you don't want to be the one to break their naps. Continuing the cat species, we have lions. Opposite to the two previous cats, they thrive on warm and hot biomes, and have a gender variety. Female and male lions will have different models. These cats are too heavyweight. They can pin you to the ground and eat you, so be careful. Coming next, we have the tiger, an animal that survives on warm biomes. These animals are just as sleepy and deadly as any other big cat. Final cats in the list are the saber-tooth tigers. Those survive on temperatures of 0 degrees or beyond, making them the most adaptable type. The rest, well, you know the deal. Next up we have a species of wolves called the dire wolf. Their bodies survive on below freezing temperatures and are usually social creatures, hunting around in packs. Hyenas are the filthy scavengers all of us are familiar with. They are dangerous creatures. They attack and devour any weaker animal or person nearby. This includes you too. Crocodiles are cold-blooded reptiles preferring warm biomes, inhabiting lakes and rivers. The water bodies in TerraFirmacraft are known for their high amount of foliage, so be careful not to accidentally step on a crocodile. They will grab your foot and roll aggressively, tearing you apart in the process. Next group of animals are passive-aggressive and can have many benefits, mostly after their death. I'm talking about the ramming creatures. First we have boars. Those are wild variants of the pig. They walk in peace until provoked. and loyal to their species, they ram players, pushing them a few blocks away. They won't stop until you are dead, so be careful not to provoke them. The moose is a larger animal with a stronger ram. These creatures spawn between chill and freezing temperatures. The last ramming animal we have is the wild beast, a creature that lives in warm regions and is ferocious in its attacks, killing players with only 2 rams. Next group of animals are excellent sources of game meat, creatures you could hunt without worrying about being attacked or even killed. The deer is first, and it is a hoofed mammal, small in size but quite fast as a result. The male and female variants are distinguishable through horns, and the deer serves as a difficult to catch but great source of game meat. The caribou is a highly passive version of the moose. It also prefers freezing temperatures. For its size, you would deem it a hard mammal to hunt, but the caribou is oblivious of self-defense. It can only run away, giving you the chance to impale it with javelins. Next up we have the bongo, an animal preferring hot biomes, and dwells the forest in groups. Both the male and the female variants of the bongo look the same, so the jade mud is necessary to tell apart their genders. The pheasant is a wild bird, adaptable to heat and cold alike, and can drop nutritious game poultry that is full of protein. The grouse is an equally nutritious game bird that spawns in most biomes. You cannot farm this bird, so it's only for hunting. The turkey is a bird that can't take temperatures below the freezing point. However, it has one of the highest amounts of protein content out of all of the birds. Final game bird is the peafowl. It prefers warm regions and is too renowned for its high protein content, but it wouldn't make any sense to kill such a beautiful bird, would it? Next up, we will go over aquatic creatures, big, small, ferocious, passive, etc. Starting with the penguin, it is no surprise that they prefer freezing biomes. A good chunk of their day is spent swimming, and a fun fact about them, when you attack a penguin, it will play dead. Turtles thrive on tropical warm lakes. Much like vanilla turtles, they drop their scutes. The extra here is their protein-packed meat, so they will come in handy during starvation periods. Going deeper into the ocean, we have the jellyfish, which currently has no purpose apart from stinging you if you get closer. But the same could be said about real-life jellyfish. Shellfish are creatures that live in and out of the water. You won't pull them while fishing, but are great for fishing itself, being used as bait. Upcoming chapters will cover fishing too, so more on that later. First we have the isopod. Following that we have the lobster. Then the crayfish, which reminds me of a mud developer. And finally there is the horseshoe crab. I did not get into the details of these creatures since they drop the same loot and live in similar climates. Not much to say about them. Giant sea creatures include the orca. They can drop a fairy item called the blubber. Not nutritional, but can keep lumps ignited. Finally, we have the manatee, aka sea cows. You don't have to be a scientist to know they are peaceful, and just like the orcas, will only drop their fat and bones. To further enforce their house's resilience, should a storm begin or something, it is advisable to use stronger types of building blocks. That's what this section is all about. First, you want to go down the caves and dig out a mineral called gypsum. It's found in abundance, so don't worry about locating it. What you will want to do next is cast a chisel head, thus crafting a chisel tool. The chisel can turn the gypsum into alabaster bricks, basically stone bricks. To blockify the bricks we just made, we will need to get a barrel, gather some rocks, grind them up into flux, upon which you will need to fill the barrel with water, turn it into lime water by fusing it with flux, and as a final step you will want to put some sand there. Any type will work. 8 minutes later you will have gotten the mortar, which is the missing item to turn alabaster bricks into blocks. Furthermore, you can chisel the alabaster bricks into chiseled blocks. Those will look terrific as corners. This process, although long and tiring, is worth it. Natural disasters are something within TerraFirmacraft and can tear apart those weak, dope houses we made earlier. I do apologize for not showcasing those. There was no way for me to manually summon the natural disasters within the mod, so all I can do now is warn you about them. You remember how we made an anvil out of rock a few chapters back? Well, it's about time we put it to use. So we've already established the cooking method. However, for welding metals, temperatures must reach incredible levels, So sadly, neither the fire pitch nor the pitch kilns will be useful here. So let's go ahead and create a charcoal forge. First, let's begin with collecting the basic materials for the forge. The charcoal. As you can see, I dug out a 2x6 hole and filled it up with log piles, each carrying 16 logs of wood. After that, you will want to ignite each log pile and cover up with dirt. You will know it's working when smoke is coming out. After the fire has been extinguished, what's left of the log piles will be charcoal. Dig it up with a shovel, and let's move on to the next step. Make a frame out of raw rocks that surrounds a 1x1 hole. Then simply fill it up with the charcoal you've collected. Ignite it using a fire starter, and the forge will be set up. The charcoal forge is essential for welding. It makes ingots reach a temperature of brilliant white, but you will want to aim at lower temperatures instead, as metals can melt away into nothingness in their high temperatures. The copper is now malleable and can be hammered into different shapes, including double ingots. 7 of those are required to make an anvil. Now that you've made an anvil, it's time to do something harder, which is using it. The anvils require flux and a hammer, upon which you'll have to play this minigame. If the green and red markers meet each other perfectly, the tool is probably forged, otherwise the metal will be ruined or cooled. The rest you already know, cooling and crafting. This process may be substituted by casting through clay, but things like metal sheets and double ingots can only be made through anvils, and those will help you make armors for extra protection and other gadgets too. Plus, advanced metals cannot be casted through clay. You can only do that with copper. Barrels will be used once more, so you may want to have a couple of these at hand reach. The next use of the barrels will be to produce leather. You'll want to turn the water into lime water using flux, and have a separate barrel with that same lime water is sealed with hickory logs to get tannin water as a result. Let's get going now. Soak the hide of an animal you've killed in the lime water barrel for 8 minutes. Then here comes another fun minigame where you will want to have a knife to scrape the hide of any fur left. Get your scraped hide and soak it in normal water. This will prepare it for the final step, which is soaking it on the tannin water we made earlier. The soaked prepared hide will turn into the good old leather item we're all familiar with, but don't bother putting it in a crafting table. Nothing will come out. Instead, you will want to nab the pieces of armors you want. Make sure to have the just enough items mod installed, so that all nappy recipes are visible to you. Time to step up our welding mechanics, and to do so, hotter welding is necessary. Bronze is required for this next segment, and it is a product of melting cassiterite and copper. This is called alloying. More on that later. Anyways, cast it and hammer it into a sheet in the anvil as we have learned earlier, and finally use it to craft a bloomery. Using the Patchouli guidebook, you can visualize the structure of the bloomery. Remember how we made bricks just a few chapters back? Well, now you get to use it fully, as bricks are the building blocks of any bloomery. Now that the visualized shape is finalized, the bloomery is to be placed on the front. Go to the opening at the top, drop some limonite, then some charcoal, then some more limonite, and finally a bit more charcoal. That will create the molten. Ignite the bloomery and give it a lot of time to cook. As a result, a raw bloom item will be produced. The block I showed earlier is called the billow. It's useful in increasing the airflow of the charcoal pitch, making it significantly hotter than normal, which is ideal in smelting the raw iron bloom. Quickly now, get the hot iron bloom from the pitch and hammer it while it's hot. The goal here is to shape it into refined iron bloom. Tired already? Tough luck, because there is 4 more to hammer, upon which you will need to do the final hammering to get the wrought iron ingot. The rest is clear. Just hammer it into different shapes, tools and weapons to the anvil. The wrought iron armors and weapons are just as tough as the vanilla iron variants, but are enough protection from the wild beasts, as there are no hostile creatures here. If you want more protection, then you will need to go the extra mile of creating steel. You could skip ahead to the next chapter, or learn to get even stronger gear. The choice is yours. Good, you stayed. Let's now show you how this flaming piece of iron works. First, you obviously need to place the blast furnace, ideally on top of a block. You will know why later. Surround the furnace with fire bricks. Those are made out of fire clay bricks. Go back a few chapters to know how to make those. The fire bricks alone won't be able to withstand the heat, so it is mandatory to enforce the building using iron sheets. Climb to the top and drop charcoal, flax and raw iron bloom. After that you will want to weld 2 years out of iron, just like we learned earlier. Then install it on the forge. Now to the block beneath the forge. Destroy it and replace it with a crucible, a block also made out of clay. Make sure to have an abundant source of ingot molds. The metal won't cast itself. Add some bellows to the side of the blast furnace, because some degrees of heat are unachievable through the wind and require higher airflow. Let's get this furnace running. Ignite the furnace itself with a fire starter. It should start afterwards. You see the content of the furnace melts into the crucible. While hot, quickly slip in ingot molds and extract the pig iron, the byproduct of steel. In case the metal solidifies, and it will, try building a charcoal forge beneath the crucible. Add in a bellow as well, and fuel the forge with charcoal. This should keep the content in a liquid, malleable stage. Once we have enough pig iron, we will need to hammer it into steel. Congratulations, you now have acquired steel, opening the door for badass looking armors, sharper weapons, efficient tools, and a few more gadgets. In later chapters of the video, we will learn to create machines, but said machines require brass, a product of alloying two metals. To alloy brass, or any metal for that matter, you will need to create charcoal forge as usual. Place a crucible on top of it, and follow the instructions. Brass, for instance, requires a mixture of 10% zinc and 90% copper, basically 1 zinc ore and 8 copper ores. You place the minerals on the crucible and wait for them to melt and fuse into one another. Following that, you spill the solution into a vessel, and while hot, spill it again into an ingot mold, and then you will be able to extract brass. The same process is repeated for all metals that require alloying, only the ingredients differ. To start thriving rather than merely surviving, preserving food can be a pivotal step. First method, and the easiest, is to salt the meat. Head over to the caves. There should be plenty of halite, the byproduct of salt. With 3 diorites and a twig, you could manufacture a handstone. Place it on top of a quern, insert the halite and start grinding. The result will be salt, which you could use on meat. Salt meat can last up to 1 month, even 2 months if you mixed it twice. Cooking food is an easier method, as you can start a fire from day 1. Likewise, this method makes the meat last for a month on the shelf. Did I say the shelf? I meant the vessels. Large vessels can also work as methods of preserving food, doubling its longevity in fact. Finally, we will create whiskey, for preservation purposes of course. Using the handstone we made earlier, we can grind rye to produce rye flour. After that, we will ferment the whiskey on a barrel. After the whiskey has been fermented, we will dip in some wild fruits. This will create vinegar as a result. Approaching the end, we will make salty water. Add the vinegar and voila! The brine liquid is produced. This is more or less like a fridge. Place any fruits here and they will last for over a month, which is terrific. I have mentioned rye earlier. Let's now learn how to harvest it. The next section will be all about farming. The next 3 will be related, so you may want to tune in. First, we will create the good old composter. Fill up the composter with various junk like dead grass, fern, any type of plants that can decompose over time. After days, the content will have naturally decomposed. It will turn into compost. It smells like dog shit, but that's the point. Go to the wilds and gather wild plants. They are found in abundance in the woods. Then come back, fertilize the soil first, and plant the rye. Now that the rye is planted, give it time to grow. Keep in mind that some types of soil are just purely bad for crops, so choose carefully. The rye bread can be made as a result. It will help you increase your grain status, giving you more stamina. Earlier we spoke of the wildlife within the TFC mod. Now we will move the economy forward, from hunter-gatherers to farmers. We already planted crops, now it's time to raise and breed cattle. Animal husbandry takes patience, and requires that you find a female cow and a male cow, the bull. Each time you feed the cattle, they will get familiarized with you and with each other a tiny bit. You can feed the cattle once a day, so prepare to spend several days doing this. Once the female cow is familiarized with you, you can milk it, increasing the stats of your dairy. And once the female cow and the bull are comfortable with one another, they will have a baby. Not right away like VanillaMinecraft, but through pregnancy of the cow. The same process is repeated with the chickens and the roosters, only with different protection, as they can lay eggs on these nests and be plucked for feathers. You could also slaughter the roosters for food, or if you start getting overpopulated. The eggs and the poultry are an excellent source of protein, and you can also set up a farm of pigs to get pork and leather, the latter being used to create saddles, so you know what's next. To tame a horse, male or female, you will need to go through the same process of feeding day in and day out. After a while, the horse will get familiarized with you, upon which it will allow you to ride it using the saddle we nabbed earlier. Horses are the best method of transportation here, since elytras do not exist in TerraFirmacraft. Finally, mules and donkeys are also tameable. The extra here is that you can mount a barrel on them, easing the transportations of liquid and organic items. To start weaving, you will need to wield 2 knives to create the shears. Oxes and sheep can be farmed for the purpose of creating wool in TerraFirmacraft. Once you have established trust with the sheep and ox, simply shear them as we do in vanilla. Just try not to be aggressive. Shearing them very often can wear and tear the poor animal. First, go ahead and turn the wool you sheared into a wool yarn through a tool called the spindle. Then, take the yarn and attach it to a machine called the loom. Both the loom and the spindle are easily crafted through simple materials. From wool yarn, you'll get the wool clothes through weaving. After that, attach it to the loom once more, and the final product will be wool, useful in increasing comfort by making a bed or in hanging a painting on your walls. To further enhance your diet, learning to catch fish can be a valuable skill. First, a hook must be welded to the anvil. We've already established how, but in case you've missed it, it's on the advanced anvil section. After that, craft it with the 2 of the wool yarn we've made earlier, 3 sticks and a hook. Be mindful that the fishing rod also needs a bait. Earlier we talked about shellfish. Those are excellent, but ray seeds may be an easier solution here. The process of catching fish is in real time, which is quite engaging. You get to reel in the fish and slash it with a sword as it flaps on the ground. Fish is an excellent source of protein and does not require any caretaking, so it can be an easier source too. It's time to enter the industrial age. This is made true by learning the TerraFirmacraft mechanical power. Before I start here, I'll quickly teach you how to get glue, as it is an essential component in making the axles. First, you want to get some bones, grind them up and soak them in lime water. Next day, you will get your glue. Steel and brass are also essential ingredients. Go back to the Bloomery chapter to learn how to make them. Very easy stuff, I promise. Let's first construct a water mill. Place one of these encased axle blocks, poke some holes in it using a hammer, and extend a line of normal axles to the front. Those will work like power cables. Finally, place your water mill and that's about it. It is not a source of energy. Instead, it will remotely and constantly move things such as handstones and other contraptions. In addition, you could also install a clutch that will work like a light switch, turning the machine on and off. The water mill will be a decent way to automate certain activities, leaving you with more mental space to create and innovate. For the windmill, you repeat the same process, only upwards, and with a new item called the windmill blade. You can craft it using wool cloths and lumber of any kind. The outer design is highly dependent on your creativity and building skills, and to best utilize the windmill, craft a bladed axle, attach it to the end of a moving part. Below, add a trip hammer. Better have plenty of steel for that though. And finally, put a hammer on the trip hammer, and just like that, you got yourself an automated anvil. Well, actually, it is semi-automatic, requiring you to heat and place the metal seal. Back in the old days, men used to use pans to discover gold. TerraFirmacraft features a highly accurate and well-developed mechanic. The way to start is, obviously, to make a pan. As always, use clay to nap its shape and fire it to get the completed pan, upon which you'll need to head to the nearest river and start panning. Make sure that your legs are touching the water so that the pan is fully immersed. If you saw these yellow dots on the pan, congratulations, you've got yourself some gold. Sluices can be used to automate gold panning. They're like stairs and will pan and filter out the gravel for any possible gold. The gold itself is worthless. You can't make anything out of it except for the sheets, which can be used for decoration, I guess. There are two methods of obtaining paper in TerraFirmacraft. I'll show you the easiest, which is through animal hides. First, you want to locate a volcano. It should be easy to spot due to the flames and stuff. Around the volcano, you'll find this specific type of rock called pumice. Grab that pumice and put it on a crafting table alongside animal hide and a hammer. Then take the resulting prepared hide and use it alongside eggs, lime, and flour. The outcome will be a paper, not a cake. Paper can allow you to create maps to identify your surroundings, a notebook to document your journey, and many other things that have to do with paper. You are nobody until somebody loves you, and in the world of TerraFirmacraft, you are all alone. Not even creepers are there to creep you up. So having a dog or a cat can solve this problem. To chain pets in TerraFirmacraft, you need to feed them grains, which is weird. I thought these animals were carnivorous. Much like the cattle and the horses, the pets will not be obedient from day one. You will need to be persistent up until you can open up this list with all of the commands you can make. The dog or cat is bound to resist your commands, so be patient and tighten the relationship with your pets through feeding them regularly. Wolves in particular can be very useful. They will hunt for you, so try and tame one early on. Next up, we have a very good way of maximizing your nutrition in TerraFirmacraft: cooking stews. The pot I have shown you in the very beginning of the video is made out of clay. You place it on top of a fire and then you fill it up with water. After that, you just browse just enough item mod for any stew you prefer. The special about the stews is that they can have almost all of the nutrients you need. In addition, you can scoop it up with a bowl, allowing for the food to be shared with anyone who happens to play TerraFirmacraft with you. Sadly though, I'm all alone here, so it's all mine. Time for some action. Powder cakes, aka TNT. The first thing you'll need to do is create a powder cake. You can easily make one of those since they are simply barrels in which we'll store our gunpowder. The gunpowder isn't that difficult to make. It requires the charcoal powder, which is simply grinded charcoal. In addition, you will need to go to the caves and locate a few easy to find minerals. After you've crafted the gunpowder, place the powder cake in the spot you want to bomb and fill it up with as much gunpowder as you want. Keep in mind that the more gunpowder, the stronger the explosion. Just like in vanilla, all you've got to do is ignite the powder cakes and watch from a safe distance. Explosions can be great to level health, and with the realistic gravity within TerraFirmacraft, their damage is further amplified. I feel bad for anyone who's left the video already, as prospecting ores is a crucial feature to learn. As the name suggests, through wielding a prospector's pick, you can track down ores. The caveat here is that the ores you'll be able to track are random. Anything nearby will be tracked, so there is no way of tracking specific types of ores. Despite that, the prospector's pick remains a pivot tool to have early on. Coming next are pumps. In TerraFirmacraft, buckets cannot fill up large spaces. They are capable of filling up things like barrels, but not swimming pools or lakes. So, to start on this pumping contraption, you will first need to create steel pipes. Those can be welded on anvils. On the bottom of our windmill, we'll place a crankshaft and attach a steel rod to it. Below the crankshaft and connected to the pipes is the actual pump. It should start transferring water as soon as it is attached correctly. The pump is useful because A, it allows you to make a swimming pool, and B, it hydrates your field of crops, either through direct contact or if aqueducts are involved. And the final section in the entire video, support beams and collapses. In TerraFirmacraft, the caves are quite dangerous. Rumbling happens too often to the point that rocks will bury you by the time you've mined your third block. Support beams are blocks that are essential for caving. They keep the ceiling from collapsing on your head, and they are fairly early game, only requiring a metal saw and some oak logs. Well, there you are, a full showcase of TerraFirmacraft. Minus few details, but should get you to survive and even thrive in this harsh world. Showcasing this mod was one of my most ambitious projects. And to be honest, I lost hope in completing it many times in the past. especially with the lack of information online. I hope this video serves as a survival guide for you. Now see ya in the next one, my friend.